Madam Chairman, I'll be very brief, and that is first, thank you all very much. I'll look forward to asking some questions, but from Alaska's perspective, Coast Guard is always an important piece of the puzzle up there. With more than half the coastline of the United States in Alaska, you have a huge impact to us. So I look forward to asking some questions about Arctic policy, about the long-term investment that the Coast Guard needs to make in Alaska for long-term security, and also the long-term capacity for training and recruiting for the Coast Guard as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Wicker, Senator Begich.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. A couple questions. Thank you very much for both of you being here today. And as you know from Alaska, with a sizable amount of coastline, there's huge demands, a variety of demands in different conditions. Can you tell me, Admiral, in regards to the Arctic needs, icebreakers, and kind of where we might be or where we should be with the activity within the Arctic between icebreakers and stationing and other types of activities? I know I've had discussions with individuals within your organization, but can you give me some thought there? And have you put together, or are you in the process of putting together a long-term plan of dealing with the Arctic? As we know, it's not just going to be fishing, it's going to be oil, it's going to be transportation, it's going to be cruise ships, it's a variety of things. Can you give me some comment?
Yes, sir. First of all, for the past 2 summers and this summer, we have moved equipment up to the North Slope to see how it operates in the open water as the ice cap has receded. And this includes small boats, helicopters, buoy tenders, and larger cutters. And I'll separate out the icebreaker issue for a moment if I could.
Sure, no problem.
We are learning valuable lessons about what operates up there well and what doesn't, and what can support operations and what can't. We know that we are challenged with small boat operations because of the ability to launch them in the vicinity of Point Barrow, and maybe need to look at an alternative such as an airboat that we use on the Great Lakes in the ice season. Our helicopters are challenged by the lack of navigation and communications, command and control infrastructure up there, and the weather, even in the summer, as you know, is very changeable up there. Any ship operating off the North Slope, even in open water, has to have some kind of ice-strengthened hull on it, because there are pieces of ice floating around there, and if the direction of the wind blows for any particular time steadily, it can all pack together. So at a minimum, one of our reinforced hulls on our buoy tenders would be needed to operate up there. We moved a high-endurance cutter up there. It's not the optimal platform to operate up there. We're in the process of doing a high-latitude study, and later on this year, we hope to develop a mission analysis for what exactly the requirements are to operate up there and what capabilities would meet it. There is not quite a match right now, 1-for-1, on what we have, but we are taking what we have and moving it up there in the summer to try and achieve an effect. Regarding the icebreakers, there's a current national policy discussion going on pursuant to the issuance of National Security Presidential Directive 66 that was issued in January, that laid out a much broader set of national issues up there that go well beyond the traditional science, which was the basis for the last directive in 1994. I think we need an alternatives analysis. We have an issue with our icebreaker fleet is atrophying, and we run the risk of losing that national capability. I don't want to leap right ahead to say we need to start designing and building icebreakers right now, but we have to have an alternative analysis of what kind of presence, what kind of capability we need up there. There needs to be consensus, and we need to move ahead.
Let me go a little more detail there. In regards to moving equipment, because I am familiar with your last 2 years or so of work up there, especially within the Barrow region, and it hasn't been very successful. I mean, it's giving you a lot of insight. There's no question about it. But do you believe in the mission analysis that you mentioned in the high altitude study that you're doing? What's the timetable for that, and what will your hope be out of that? Will it tell you what you need to do up there, the capacity, as well as the budgetary needs, and what's the timetable on that?
It will give us what is required to operate up there. In other words, you need let's say, a capability that can operate X miles offshore in such amount of ice that's in the water, be able to move it, to launch it, to refuel it, to have people to support it. That may or may not lead you to what we have right now. My guess is it will lead us to something other than what we're operating up there right now, because we know that we're having issues. But that kind of baseline level requirements without presupposing the platform, and then you go to an alternatives analysis and how you would achieve that.
And would it lay out a detailed timetable?
Hopefully, yes.
And a cost?
That will be related to the alternatives analysis and what platforms might be desired up there. There's a big difference between running an airboat and having some kind of an ice strengthened cutter operate offshore.
So yes.
It's how you want to create the presence.
And those reports will be done when?
Later this year, sir.
Later this year? Yeah. Will it be in time for, as you move through the 2011 budget process to include if necessary?
It will be close, and I'd be glad to give you an update for the record.
That'd be good. My concern is, as you know, the activity up there, especially with exploration and other, is increasing rapidly. And the issues of fisheries is being debated as we speak now of what will be open or not. And if we are not in the 2011 cycle, we'll be in the 2012 beyond, and there'll be a lot of activity up there, and I'd hate to not be prepared. And the Coast Guard is critical up there for life safety. So could you give me something on the record on that, on the timetable, and if that will fit into the budget process?
I'd be happy to do that. I would make one quick comment. Irrespective of where we go with icebreaker replacement, icebreakers are capable of providing presence and a wide range of multi-mission activities up there now. That's the reason maintaining that capability in the current government inventory until we make a decision is extremely important.
Thank you very much. I'll hold my next, because I do have some questions on icebreaker capacity, so I'll leave that. Okay.
Senator Begich.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I had actually a list of questions, but this conversation has intrigued me, so I'm going to ask one off of my list and get clarification on a few things. One is more of a parochial, maybe you could follow up with it, and that is in March, the Coast Guard Polar Sea dragged its anchor through an area of Puget Sound, and at the same time, it's a well-charted area. Telecommunications lines were there. It broke a line. It has not been resolved in the sense of who pays, and I wonder if you can kind of just put that on your tickler to let us know kind of the status of that and how soon that issue will be resolved. It's a major line that brings telecommunications internet service to Alaska, and it was clearly a charted area, and for whatever reason, the Coast Guard broke the line, and I think it's been emergency repaired by the company but not resolved. If you could put that on your tickler, that'd be great. Let me, you know, the questioning that was just going on, again, this wasn't part of my list of questions, but I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and it helps me understand some of the conversation that's gone on here. When we construct a ship and it's completed, is there a period of time that the contractor is responsible for the success of that vessel in the sense of what it said it would do? And if so, what are the ramifications if it doesn't perform? And that would be to you or to Mr. Caldwell. Do you have those in contracts that allow?
Yeah, currently right now there's a 1-year warranty period after you take delivery. And so the question is, what are you accepting at delivery, and then what are you accepting at the end of the 1-year warranty period? In the first 2 national security cutters are been awarded in what is called a cost-plus environment. So what you're doing is you're paying for whatever costs are being incurred. So if you have them do the warranty work, they will do it, but you will pay for it under the provisions of the contract because it's not a firm fixed price contract. And sometimes it's a better business decision to go ahead and take receipt of the vessel and then attend to that with your base funding. And that's a business decision we make. Moving into a fixed price environment, there is a much higher standard to hold a contract to, and that's what we're trying to get with the National Security Cutter right now. I'd ask Mr. Caldwell to comment.
I have no further comments on the
Okay.
warranty.
If it doesn't perform as you had anticipated, not necessarily a warranty issue, not performed, what happens?
Well, obviously, we have contractual, we can go back and demand the work be done, contract be met, and deal with the contractor in that regard, and that's what our contracting officers would do if it was warranted. There are some cases where, depending on the specific issue, we may choose to fund that ourselves rather than the contract, because from a business case it might not be as expensive.
And the 1 year, is 1 year enough time for you to do, I mean, I got a 7-year on my car, but on the vessel, 1 year enough?
I believe it's an industry standard, but I can give you some more thoughts on that for the record if you like,
Okay,
sir.
yeah.
Maybe Mr. Caldwell has a comment.
No, okay. This might be for Mr. Caldwell. When you mentioned those deviations from the contracting process, the acquisition process, I'm assuming that was on the Coast Guard side. They deviated from the rules and regulations in some instances, as quoted by the chair. What happens to those employees? that made the decision? Someone had to make the decision, right?
Well, let me do this. Let me talk about what the specific deviations from the MSAM are, just to give a more detailed answer to Senator Cantwell's. And
if
then,
I can do this, because my time is limited on the
Yes.
clock, so I deviated for whatever standard they deviated.
correct.
Okay. Authorized, unauthorized. Someone had to make a decision, correct? To deviate from the rules.
Yes, I think in general, these were, as Admiral Allen would say, probably business decisions in terms of how much do you want to slow down the process as opposed to.
Right, I understand that, but they deviated from the rules. The rules didn't say for business decisions, you can deviate from the rules, did they?
No, the MSAM has certain requirements that are
Okay.
laid out.
So what happens to the employees that deviate from the rules? Did your
Well, we're
report?
pointing those out. Obviously, Coast Guard decides whether they take other action on the employees themselves.
Admiral?
Yeah, maybe I can add a little clarity to this. As we were transitioning from the previous Deepwater structure where we weren't applying the doctrine of the MSAM to the MSAM, you obviously have work in progress and business decisions you have to make while you're doing that. And I believe in the case of the FRC, where we had taken 8 patrol boats out of service and we're suffering a patrol boat hour gap, there was a need to decide whether or not to proceed to get the boats there as soon as we can and take care of the documentation and some of the things that is associated with the MSAM that we'd normally want to do and will do in the future to be able to mitigate that patrol boat gap at an earlier time.
So that didn't answer my question, but I think the answer was you deviated because you thought it was in the best interest of getting what you needed online, and there's no repercussion to the employees, and the rule book is the rule book.
Well, we
Just
sit down
trying to
and we,
figure out if the rules are laid out to follow, but because the determination is because of a business model, which I understand, but then the rules are not modified to meet those future those rules of flexibility. I'm just trying to figure out that piece, and maybe there's no answer to it because there's no.
there should be less ambiguity moving forward as we move the entire system under the Major Systems Acquisition Manual. There was a decision to be made about this patrol boat acquisition, given the patrol boat hour gap. The business decision taken was to get the vessels under construction as fast as possible. If there's any accountability here regarding that decision, it is mine.
Okay. Last question, and my time, actually 2 quick ones. One is on the towing and your potential and future. Is there any recouping of the costs by the people that you're doing the rules and regulations that are, I mean, are we bearing all that cost, or is there industry cost or associated costs that someone's paying a fee for?
There are some fees associated with certificate of inspections being issued and so forth, but the entire cost,
Towing.
including personnel, it's not a recouped by fees, no, sir.
Was there ever a discussion of that?
No, sir.
Okay. And last one, and this goes to, I think, Mr. Wicker's, Senator Wicker's question and the chair's question to some degree, and that is, do you have a document that lays out long-term, and actually Senator Snow brought this up, long-term over the next 5-10 years, what your capital requirements will be, your costs associated with that, and your maintenance that will associate with that? In other words, we have a lot of discussion about equipment needs and gaps or no gaps. Do you lay that out so, you know, we know in year 2013, you're going to need so many pieces of equipment, which will have a maintenance cost of so much, a personnel cost? Do you have such a document? I know in local government, it's required to do this.
Here's what we're working on right now, and it's actually a requirement for congressional reporting, in this case to the Appropriations Committee, but it's called a Deepwater Expenditure Plan that lays out exactly what are going to be the ramifications of this acquisition baseline review that we are doing. In addition to that, we have a capital investment plan that projects 5 years on our AC&I appropriations and where we need to go on that. And we are in the Department of Homeland Security right now trying to evolve to what we call a future years Homeland Security plan, which is very much like the DOD future year defense plan. That I would just tell you that's a work in progress.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Begich, did you have any follow-up on that, since this is such a critical, important issue to the larger region economically that you and I both represent?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I do, and I appreciate your comments, and I know there is money in the appropriations bill that's moving forward. I think it was like 70 million, or I can't remember the exact number, but there's a sizable amount there. But to the bigger question that the chair asked, and that is the risk. We have 3 And your phrase was, if all are operating, which is not always the case.
Is not the case, sir.
Right. So we have 3 that are kind of limping along a little bit, need some resources. What's the adequate number of an icebreaker fleet in anticipation of what's happening now with the Arctic and as well as other work we have around the world? That's the ultimate question. I
can give you a force-sizing answer, Senator. If you want a 1-0 presence, in other words, you want to be able to get as far into the ice any time of the year that you need to, north and south, to be able to keep somebody on station, it takes 3 cutters to do that. And if you're talking north and south, it would be 6 if that was your requirement.
And that would be, if I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, that being the 10. So,
yes.
So really, probably to get to that adequate level, probably at least 4 that are running, 3 at a, if I was kind of grading, it'd probably be like a 5 level. Out of 1 to 10 would be 3. In other words,
what we have right now, in my view, is the minimum capability we need to be able to respond if all 3 of them are operating, and they are not.
They are not. So that's the biggest challenge right there. And the life expectancy, once and assuming they get renovated, what's the life expectancy? I mean, is it really?
Well, it gets down to a point of how much you want to invest, sir. You can extend the service life 7 to 10 years.
Right.
My judgment, without doing a lot of analysis, and we can provide you more information, would be that the only reason you would extend the service life would be to buy you time to come up with a larger grand solution on what your ultimate requirement was, sir.
For potentially new ones.
Or you could take both of them out of service and retrofit them completely, gut them, new engines and everything.
Gotcha.
But then again, you're losing 2 icebreakers until you get them back, sir.
Then you're really at risk because you're down
Yes,
to
sir.
1 in a time when a lot of activity could be occurring in the Arctic.
Yes, sir.
Is that fair? And I guess on top of that, I know there's, as we move into these summer months, especially in the Arctic, with more exploration and other activity, is there need for Congress to do anything additionally to support you over the next 24 months? And why I say this is, I get very nervous with so much activity starting to occur up there, and I know the capacity of what you can and cannot do up there based on very good briefings I've received. And there's a great desire, I know, from your command structure to do whatever's possible, but you're fairly limited. And so is there anything that you would recommend in this next 24 to 36 months that we should be doing now financially or otherwise to support the efforts up there? I mean, all it takes is 1 incident up there and we have a major problem.
Yes, sir. I think there are several things. First of all, I think we need to stabilize and maintain the capability we have. I don't think it should drop below what we have. Right now, we have 2 usable icebreakers, 1 heavy-duty icebreaker and 1 ice strength and research vessel. So job 1 is to get Polar Star back in operation so you have the 3 functional icebreakers that this country needs and has been validated in a number of studies by the National Research Council and others over the years. The second thing, in my view, is then to stabilize the business practice associated with that. The conference report from the appropriators last year asked that the administration move the base operating funds from the National Science Foundation to the Coast Guard to operate the icebreakers. We've had negotiations with the National Science Foundation, have drafted a memorandum of understanding. They have no objection to the transfer of those funds. So that leads me to the third point, and that's working inside the administration right now to create a position that's consistent with the goals of the National Security Presidential Directive 66 and actually take an administration position to move forward on the base funding. And then after that, it would be taking an assessment of the mission needs in the Arctic and decide what to do about replacing the icebreakers or extending their service life.
Thank you very much, Admiral. Thank you, Madam Chair.